how can I talk about the union? Can I use emails? Can I discuss this in the break room?
So it's a good question, and I know that there's a lot of trepidation right now at SCCOE. So there's kind of, I had to almost check myself on this because in some ways I'm used to representing places that have been, unionized for 50 years, but then I appreciate that there are ones that are up and coming. And so what I'll do is I'll start with like probably the safer answer and then the more expansive technical answer. So the safer answer is, look, I get it, right? The walls have ears. There's some level of concern about who's hearing you talk about the union. If you want to talk about the union to one of your colleagues, go ahead and take a break, take a walk, and so that you're not in a place where everyone's overhearing your conversation, or especially if maybe your cubicle or office is right by a cabinet member, you're not having that kind of a spotlight on you. But officially, so that's my suggestion. The official answer, however, is once you start the unionizing process, you are protected against retaliation. I get that can be complex because, especially in an era of layoffs, how do you prove that you were laid off because you started a union conversation? Sometimes you can, especially if the employer is silly enough to have outright said that. But if they don't, and they just say, you know what, we're not interested in your program anymore, that can be very hard to prove. So what you legally can do, you can de minimisly use their resources. That means you can send emails. You'll probably get emails from CEMA using the employer email system, but that's going to be coming from the institutional union. I wouldn't advise you legally can, but I wouldn't advise you send emails out internally. So do yourself a favor. While you do have additional protections for de minimis use, that means like you could talk about it in the break room. The rule of thumb is if you can talk about who won the big sports game last weekend, you can talk about the union. Again, sometimes people don't want their colleagues to overhear. I completely respect that. But that's the rule of thumb. If you can talk about who won the big sports game, you can talk about the union. And you will likely be getting some emails from us using the employer email. I don't know if there's anything else folks wanted to add on that one.
I just want to remind people, unionizing is fairness. That's what it is.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah.
I just want to add that as an at-will employee, unionization does make me nervous, and that's real. And the reasons why I believe in this movement, because we have tried to work with our board to have different outcomes. We have tried to work with the Board of Supervisors to have different outcomes. This seems to be the only other option that I can think of, and I think it's a good one, and I think, I'm sorry it didn't come to mind sooner, but I think we have a real opportunity to work with CEMA to represent the SCCOE leadership team. And does it make me nervous? Yes, and I'm happy to go on that walk with you.